Good early Wednesday morning, everybody. Good Veterans Day morning. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center with an update on Tropical Storm Eta here. We are seeing the storm. It has been strengthening over the last several hours now. Some of the latest radar trends, some of the latest satellite trends show that maybe it's not quite as well put together as it was a little while ago in terms of some of that thunderstorm activity, but it still looks pretty organized overall. So we just got to watch it here as there's some new tropical alerts to tell you about inward parts of North Florida, inward other regions here as we get down further into the state as well. So I just want to go ahead and let you know about that here, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But you just see the storm structure here. I'll go ahead and go back to what we were seeing a little while ago on the Doppler radar technology, in fact, and you can see we had the eye a little bit more well defined, and it was looking like it might be a hurricane or very close to becoming one. You could even see some rotating like storms as we were looking off of Monroe County there, Collier County, but right now maybe not quite as organized as it looked a little while ago, and we are expecting this to weaken ultimately as it moves closer toward North Florida here later today. But we're just going to have to continue to track it. We'll be watching it as it gets here more into toward the region tomorrow, as that does make landfall here as we get toward that coast. And again, I'll be getting that track in a few minutes. We'll look at the velocity while we're on the radar here real quick. And we're watching some of this wind energy. You can see quite a bit of wind showing up here closer to that center. And now part of the reason maybe that eye is not showing up as good is because we are not at the best angle for that at this point as we're looking off the Key West radar there. But we're just going to go ahead and continue to watch. I'm seeing some pixels here in the 70-mile-an-hour range or so as we're looking closer toward that eye. And then as we get here toward the coast, you see some gust here as we're looking aloft in that 60, 70-mile-an-hour range as well. So just got to pay attention. A lot of that maybe not translating to the surface, but we'll watch for a storm like this one here toward parts of Collier County that's showing a little very weak rotation, not too significant, but just continuing to watch maybe that 40-mile-an-hour wind potential here at the moment toward that Naples area with this. But let's go ahead and get into some of our other systems right now. We'll get over toward the graphics where we have that display here from that 4 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. As many of you just waking up here on this Veterans Day morning, you do see that a hurricane watch in that pink color there in effect now from Anna Maria Island to Yankeetown. So we're talking about this storm maybe becoming a hurricane here as we look ahead and then weakening back down before it makes landfall. But the reason the Hurricane Center did issue that hurricane watch is they wanted to err on the side of caution here because just in case this were to adjust a little east, maybe the east side of the cone, it could make landfall as just barely a hurricane. So they don't want people to be prepared here today. Just make sure you're kind of ready just in case things kind of ramp up even a little bit further. But a hurricane watch now in effect from Anna Maria Island to Yankeetown here, and Yankeetown just barely in Levy County for what it's worth, but a tropical storm warning extends further that we've been talking about here as we were looking back, and we're just going to continue to watch this storm with that pressure a little bit lower, 988 millibars. It's also faster here in this track than what we were looking at late last night. I know we had that posted there on the different pages on Facebook, on Twitter, and now getting out of here versus maybe hanging around through Saturday. You see it Friday afternoon already getting off the coast, and that's in line with some of those computer models. I'll go ahead and get some of those loaded on into our system here real quick so we can kind of do some compare and contrast with everything that's going on. And I do see, in fact, the hurricane hunters, they seem to be out here now getting some different readings. So let's go ahead and we'll switch you on over toward that. I'll put the radar on some of our reports just in case something's popping up here as well, and you'll be able to kind of get a grasp of the entire situation here. So there's our radar there on ZR level 3, but here is the overall track synopsis. You do see that low pressure here getting pretty low. In fact, it looks like they found 984 millibars on their flight out here, so maybe some more strengthening based on what they're getting out there. Just have to kind of verify that and see if that's exactly what they feel the situation does represent, and if so, that'll be in that latest update that comes out at 7 a.m. from the National Hurricane Center. And the winds, it looks like the highest wind they found here, 57 knots, so we're just watching for some of that. I'm going to look here at some of my notes real quick off camera, of course. and try to give you an idea of what that would be equivalent to. So we're talking about maybe 66-mile-an-hour winds. So maybe not a hurricane here still, but I just got to continue to watch and just make sure things don't ramp up into that as we've been talking about. But again, those models here, you see they're in pretty good agreement with the official track now. That wasn't the case earlier as things had been kind of shifting around, but getting some more data into those models here, it seems like they're handling this a little bit better. And you can kind of see that tropical force wind field as we look at the official forecast. You can see that hanging around in toward parts of north central Florida here as we're getting toward about Thursday at noon or so. So just continue to monitor that. I'm going to get back over to the graphics right now though, so you can kind of see that cone perspective once more, and you'll be able to kind of get an idea of what is going on. You see 50-mile-per-hour winds as we get toward, again, about 1 p.m. there on your Thursday, so a weakening trend for sure. But if we have this track a little east, we'll have to just watch maybe for Central Florida, West Central Florida impacts to become a little more elevated, and then the storm would spread out some as it moves further in. So we'll just have to watch. And some of the model data was trying to get those winds a little bit higher than I would like towards Central Florida here, based on some of the organization of this storm. So we just have to kind of keep that in mind as we're looking at our neighbors there. But getting toward our region here, you do see a tropical storm warning now in play as we're looking toward Alachua, Gilchrist, parts of Levy County here as well. Most of Levy under that tropical storm warning, just a little bit there. We're talking hurricane watch. Technically, the whole county would be under that tropical storm warning, but you kind of get the idea. And then Marion as well here under that. And then that tropical storm watch is in that lighter pink color. That includes Bradford, Clay, Putnam, St. John's, and Flagler. Also, coastal Taylor there as we get toward the Gulf Coast, coastal Taylor. And then as we get toward coastal Dixie as well. So just kind of keep that in mind as you are looking toward those regions. That storm surge watch there noted on the screen too. So I just have to watch for the impacts. I know as we were looking towards Stark, just looking back, even though this is not supposed to be a very big event for us here in toward Bradford County, this is the first time we've been under a tropical storm watch situation here in a while, probably 3 years or so, just looking back, maybe even since Irma. But this is not going to be anything like Irma for Bradford County. That's pretty much set in stone here. That's one good thing I can assure you of. This to be a lower impact event. Shouldn't even have too much rain overall, but we just got to watch. Things can change a little bit, but I think our bigger concern is to the south really as we're looking toward that tropical storm warning area, and then maybe even more toward Marion County here in our viewing region, Marion and Levy. So just kind of continue to watch down there, especially as we get over toward our most likely arrival time for those tropical force winds. I just want you under a tropical storm watch or warning to go ahead and charge up your device just in case. And this is kind of the timeline for when things could get kind of nasty, especially as they're looking further south around 8 p.m. tonight here as we're getting toward areas there north of Tampa maybe, and then you see Marion County there in the middle of the night, maybe around midnight, 1, 2 a.m., and then up toward areas further up in north central Florida, northeast Florida by around sunrise or so, maybe even a little before that. So just, again, if you're under that tropical storm watch or warning, go ahead and charge up your device just to be safe. It's a little more important as you get down to the south, but still an isolated power outage or two could be the story as we look at some of those forecast winds right now. The peak wind gust potential looks to be in that 45-mile-per-hour range around Stark, 50-mile-per-hour range around Gainesville. You kind of get the idea. We're watching that as we look further south, though, and I'll kind of broaden if you had to see the coastal areas in a moment. I'm extending that over toward Palatka just a little bit, that 45-mile-per-hour thread, and I'm trying to stay in line here with that National Weather Service forecast. But we're going to look up toward the north a little bit. You see the thread a little bit lower, but still a gust of 40 or so, but no longer watching here as we get further up, maybe toward areas like Tallahassee, Valdosta. We're not as concerned about that wind risk, as I'll go ahead and show you now in the broader view as things have come into focus a little bit better now. We've been able to refine this overall forecast. You see 25 miles per hour toward Tallahassee is what I have for that peak gust, so shouldn't be too big of an event as we've had that track shift, more confidence in that track build now, but with a quicker track per se aligning, that's indicative here of a storm that can be turning a little bit quicker here, and it can have a little bit more of its strength held together. So that's why we have a gust potential at 60 now in those coastal regions as we're looking more as we get toward Dixie and especially Levy County, and then we're going to see 50 again toward Gainesville, and you kind of see it dropping off, but even up to 40 there into toward the Brunswick region. As this goes out the coast, you can get some gusts still at that area there along the beaches per se as you're getting in toward Glenn County. So we'll go ahead now and kind of look at some of that storm surge threat. You see a storm surge watch in play as we get from Bonita Beach to the Steinhatchee River. You see that potential of 2 to 4 feet above ground there. So we're just going to continue to watch that potential here. Less as we get toward the south, you see south of Bonita Beach, not under that watch, but still a threat of a little bit of surge, but just enough to have some impact here in this area. I know it can be vulnerable sometimes, especially around Tampa, to this potential. So you just got to be kind of mindful. We've seen some storms before that aren't even that close to the coast, cause some issues in toward the Tampa Bay area. So I just got to continue to be prepared for that. Could get upgraded to a storm surge warning if things do warrant that. So just again, we'll continue to track that. But then our rainfall threat, I know that's something a lot of you want to know about. And as you get further up here, it doesn't look like an extreme threat because a lot of that wind energy here will kind of be coming maybe without some rain, just depending on how the storm is aligning, because it should be weakening as it gets closer toward us. So that wind here, again, might not be coming with too much rain. It's just kind of a tough forecast here as you see that rain potential further down toward Tampa, though. It looks like a pretty interesting story for them. Not a huge event by any stretch, but still could have some impacts. Going to be some power outages down there, I think, toward Hillsborough County, even getting up as we're looking maybe toward Sumter County as we get toward Central Florida. Some of the models, again, trying to hint at some of those winds maybe a little bit stronger. Could get a little bit more rain again down there, too. But those winds I'm watching, we do have that flash flood watch, including Levy County here. That was issued by the National Weather Service in Tampa, Ruskin. So we'll continue there to look at that to see how maybe that could get expanded based on other Weather Service offices' jurisdictions. So just pay attention there. But here's one of the models, 7 p.m. tonight. You do see a high-resolution view, that storm system, maybe giving areas there along west central Florida some action. So you just have to kind of watch for that threat. There may be some isolated tornadoes even earlier. I know the Storm Prediction Center had a mesoscale discussing that, and I'll go ahead and pop that on because they were talking here about a threat of some isolated tornadic activity here as we're looking towards southwest Florida, as some of the action could become a little bit more favorable for this. So let me go ahead and switch you over. This is the model you're seeing right now, and you see that threat is expanding up there toward Tampa. But let's get over now toward our other system, and this is the live view. You do see that blue circled area there, that potential 40% chance of a watch being issued, some water spouts, not a completely negligible risk there with some convection near southwestern Florida there through daybreak. Maybe by 9 to 11 it's possible a tornado or two could develop there. That potential could increase around the Fort Myers, Port Charlotte areas. So they're going to watch for trends, and I know they didn't even put a risk out in the Storm Prediction Center outlook necessarily for today, but things have kind of changed over the last several hours. You see that tornado parameter there, so we'll have to just watch as we look further up into where the state later on too to see how things become aligned, see how much instability there is. As I'll go ahead and pop up the local radar real quick right now. We'll add that to the view, and you'll be able to see those current temperatures where we have 75 in Keystone right now, a 75 Gainesville. You even see some shower action toward Gadsden and maybe even over toward that Bainbridge area right now as well. Though luckily they're going to be missing out on those winds even from Eta. It looks like it was looking like yesterday that track more toward the Big Bend, now more toward west central Florida or the far southern Big Bend here as you are watching this scenario. So that's some good news for Tallahassee area viewers there. Not too big of a deal for them. It doesn't look like toward Albany either. But just kind of giving that overview. I know it's Veterans Day and we could have some passing showers, but you shouldn't have to cancel those Veterans Day plans overall here this morning, early afternoon, North Florida, South Georgia, and that's good news. Just some passing showers, so be aware. Could have a rumble of thunder or two, but the bigger threat here will be evolving later on into where the timeline, as we've explained, getting later tonight into early tomorrow, depending on where you're at in North Central Florida, Northeast Florida, and parts of Southeastern Georgia here as well. So I just kind of giving you that overview here on this Wednesday morning. It's Veterans Day morning. I hope you have a great Veterans Day, of course, out there. Just continue to check the forecast, and we'll go ahead and just look here at what has been a very busy hurricane season here. We had Eta here, obviously, that we've been talking about. It impacted Nicaragua down there. As we were looking back last week, over a week ago, we've been dealing with it for a while, just kind of looping around now. We have Theta, when we watch maybe for Iota to develop here as well. So it's a very busy hurricane season for sure. And we're just going to continue to watch it. We don't normally have systems like this in November to track, but 2020 has been a very unique year for sure. As we go back down to the system once again, we'll go ahead and look here at some of the latest information. And take off our temperatures. We'll put those wind gusts on. You see some winds toward the Keys here, tropical force gust, 38 knots here at the Key West. It's early, folks. Key West International Airport, 38 knots. So we're talking about 44 mile per hour wind potential there. So we're going to continue to watch that as we're looking toward that region. We'll go ahead and broaden that track back on here. You see those different models. I'll take off some of those for now, so you get a little clearer look. I'll take off the wind field potential as well as we continue to watch our tropical storm, borderline Cat 1 hurricane. I'm going to check in real quick with the Hurricane Center to see if there's any new information. I'll make sure they're not saying things a little bit different than I am here. I haven't seen anything in the chat session, but just watching that hurricane watch that's in play there for portions of the west coast of Florida as Eta intensifies further there. So we're just going to continue to give you the latest updates, broadening view out just a little bit more. I'll check my notes real quick to make sure there's nothing else we need to talk about here early on this Veterans Day morning. And just to watch down there as we're looking toward Marion Levy. It might not be a bad idea to get a couple extra batteries down there just to be on the safe side as you're watching this, just to make sure things don't ramp up here and catch you off guard. But that's to pretty much do it here for now with that discussion. Now, we'll be back here as necessary as we're looking ahead. I don't have a regularly scheduled update here planned as we're looking toward that 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock time range today with the holiday being here on this Wednesday. But we will break in if necessary as we look ahead and toward the evening, late evening, overnight even here as we continue to watch what is Eta and what it is doing here as we're looking off the west coast of Florida. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there. Tropical storm watch as we're looking toward Bradford, St. John, some of those under that. Tropical storm warning toward Alachua, Marion, Levy counties. Just continue to track things.